She lost everything in the city and chose to isolate herself in a small farmhouse in the countryside. When she arrived there for the first time, the place looked forgotten by time. The chairs were worn out, the pool had long lost its shine, and the silence of the property seemed to hold stories no one remembered anymore. And yet, there was something about that place that made her stay. The same kitchen, the same wooden tables, but now everything feels different. The silence no longer feels heavy like it once did. The smell of dust is gone, and the light coming through the window seems to illuminate a place that has finally begun to breathe again. Anyone who sees it today would never imagine how it looked when she first arrived. On that first day, the door creaked as she pushed it open. The floor was covered with dry leaves. Some of the chairs were broken, and the large table in the center of the kitchen looked like it had been abandoned for years. She remembers exactly what she thought in that moment. This is going to take a lot more work than I imagined. She stood there for a few seconds, just looking around, trying to understand if she had made the right decision, because coming to that small farmhouse hadn't just been a change of address. It had been an escape. Back in the city, things had fallen apart very quickly. The job she had built for years ended in a way she never expected, and soon after that, other losses followed. Some people simply disappeared from her life. Others stayed, but not in the way she needed them to. Suddenly, everything felt too heavy. The city became too loud. The streets felt too tight. And the constant feeling was that she was living a life that no longer made sense. It was during a sleepless night that she found a listing for that property, an old photo, a simple house, and a short sentence. Old countryside house. Needs renovation. She stared at that photo for a long time. Maybe because, in that moment, those words described more than just the place. They described her too. Needs renovation. A few days later, she was driving down the dirt road that led there, when the gate appeared in front of her. The first thing she did was stop the car and just stare. The place looked forgotten. Tall grass everywhere, the pool covered in leaves, and that kitchen, exactly as she had found it when she opened the door that first day. Old, silent, tired, just like she felt at that moment in her life. Now, looking at this same place today, she realizes that almost everything has changed. The wood has been restored, the floor has been cleaned, the walls feel alive again, but the biggest change is something no one can see just by looking at the farmhouse. It's what happened inside her while all of this was being rebuilt, because every piece of this place she repaired seemed to repair something inside her as well, and maybe that's why she decided to keep going, even on the days when it felt impossible. In the first few days, she realized that the farmhouse would demand much more than just work. It would require patience. Every corner seemed to hide a new problem. A door that wouldn't close properly, a broken roof tile, a faucet that insisted on dripping through the entire night. The kitchen, for example, looked like it had gathered years of abandonment. The wood on the tables felt rough. Some of the chairs could barely hold themselves together anymore, and the barbecue grill looked like it had been forgotten for a very long time at the beginning. All of it felt too big for her. There were moments when she simply sat there, at that same table where everything now looks organized, and just stared around, not knowing where to begin. It was almost as if the farmhouse was testing her courage. But strangely, those moments also made something else happen. While she looked at that old place, her mind would slowly drift back to the past. She remembered how life in the city had become a strange cycle. Wake up early, work all day, go home exhausted, and repeat everything again the next day. For years she believed that was normal, that this was simply how life was supposed to be, until, little by little, things started to fall apart. First came the constant exhaustion, then the frustrations, and finally, a feeling that was hard to explain. As if she had been living a life that wasn't really hers. Maybe that exact feeling was what made her accept that challenge, because in that simple place, full of problems to fix, there was something the city no longer offered her. Time to think, time to rebuild, time to breathe. At first, the changes in the farmhouse were small. She cleaned the kitchen floor, removed the leaves that had gathered everywhere, fixed a few chairs. None of it seemed big enough to truly transform the place, but every small improvement made the environment feel a little different. Slowly, the silence of the farmhouse stopped feeling empty. It started to feel comforting. One quiet morning, she noticed something curious. While wiping the large wooden table in the kitchen, she paused for a moment and looked around. Sunlight was coming through the window. The smell of clean wood filled the air, and for the first time since she had arrived there, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Maybe that farmhouse wasn't just being restored. Maybe it was helping restore something inside her too, because somehow every piece of that place seemed to carry part of her story, and the more she repaired the farmhouse, the more it felt like she was repairing her own life. As the months passed, that farmhouse slowly stopped looking like an abandoned place. Little by little, it began to show signs of life again. The tables were sanded, the chairs became steady once more, the barbecue grill was cleaned after years of being untouched, and gradually, every small detail started to transform the space. Nothing happened quickly. In fact, there were many days when it felt like nothing was changing at all. Some mornings began with new problems, a leak that suddenly appeared, piece of wood that needed to be replaced, or simply the exhaustion of doing almost everything on her own. But there was something about that place that kept her going. Maybe it was the silence, or maybe it was the feeling that there, she finally had space to begin again today. When she walks through that kitchen and looks out the window toward the open fields, the memory of that first day still returns. To her mind, she remembers the door creaking, the smell of dust, the broken chairs, and the overwhelming doubt she felt when she stepped inside for the first time. At that moment, she thought she had made a mistake. She thought maybe she was trying to run away from a life that no longer had a solution. But now, looking around, she realizes something different. The farmhouse changed, but the greatest transformation didn't happen in the walls, or the tables, or the floor that now stands clean. The greatest transformation happened inside her, because that place didn't only demand work, it demanded courage. The courage to face the silence, the courage to remember the past, and most of all, the courage to keep going even when it felt easier to give up today. When someone sees this place organized, peaceful, and full of life, It's hard to imagine how everything began, but she knows, she remembers. And maybe that is exactly why this place means so much to her now. Because deep down, that farmhouse was never just a piece of land in the countryside. It was the beginning of a new story. A story that began in a place full of dust, but ended with something she once thought she had lost forever: peace.